Well, ladies and gentlemen, it appears that no person has obtained a majority of the votes of the electors for the office of President of the United States, and that the three highest on the list are Andrew Jackson of Tennessee, John Quincy Adams of Massachusetts, and William H. Crawford of Georgia, and that the duty of electing devolves on the House of Representatives.
You think the country is divided right now? Well, you're right, but I gotta tell you, if you look at the election of 1824, it does look and sound like a déjà vu. The newspapers at the time talk about deep diplomacy, selfish, horror, indignation, the people to be sold, deceived, betrayed. I mean, this is not exactly the most civic election. So this election opposed Andrew Jackson, William Crawford, Henry Clay, and John Quincy Adams. And it's one of the most divisive elections in American history. Each candidate relied on a regional base to get elected. New England overwhelmingly supported John Quincy Adams. The South was behind Jackson, Henry Clay carried most of the western states, and William Crawford got the mid-Atlantic. Only Andrew Jackson, however, was able to reach out beyond his regional base to be competitive at the national level. So Andrew Jackson came in first in the popular vote tally. He also came in first in the electoral votes. He actually collected 99 electoral votes. But at the time, in 1824-25, you would need 131 votes out of the 261 available to get elected President of the United States. So because there's no clear leader in the Electoral College with absolute majority, the election is decided in the House of Representatives on February 9th, 1825 in Washington, D.C., with Lafayette in the audience. So you get it. Andrew Jackson is expected to win this election, but he doesn't get to become President of the United States. John Quincy Adams does. So he goes back home to Tennessee at the Hermitage. What is he thinking? Is he bitter? Is he seeking political revenge? What is going through his mind when he goes back to Nashville? And then Lafayette comes in later on in May of 1825. What is the effect that Lafayette has on Jackson when he visits? What did they talk about? I think we should go find out. So let's go figure it out. Let's go hit the trail. Let's go follow the Frenchmen. I feel like, the winter 24-25, Andrew Jackson is in Washington, D.C. The national spotlight is on the nation's capital. So when he retreats after he's defeated, you can see the peaceful environment that welcomes him here. Quiet, calm. I don't know, tell me, what do you think? During his farewell tour, Lafayette made a stop in Nashville on May 4th and 5th, 1825. He had left Washington, D.C. in February of that year, went through the South to New Orleans, then sailed up the Mississippi River to St. Louis, and from there made a detour to Nashville, where he visited Jackson at his personal home, the Hermitage. On October 1st, 1824, the Tennessee governor officially invited Lafayette to visit his state. What's striking to me in that invitation is the modesty of the words that the governor chose on purpose. Words like open arms, hearts swelling with gratitude. Remember, Tennessee was a newer state at the time. Tennesseans were looking for a direct connection with the Revolutionary War to establish their status within the Union. And Lafayette, the last surviving Major General of the Continental Army, visiting their state, gave them just that. He wanted to see Andrew Jackson, that had just lost actually the election of 1824, and had retired at his house at the Hermitage. And by doing that, he was basically acknowledging that Andrew Jackson was a rising personality of national politics, and that a lot of people in this country had voted for him even though he lost. We're here at the Hermitage on Andrew Jackson's birthday, and we're hoping to have a moment with Tennessee Governor Bill Lee before the wreath-laying ceremony begins. Colonel, pleasure to meet you. How are you, sir? General Lafayette came here on May 5th, 1825. He was received by Andrew Jackson. And we're going to place a marker this afternoon to honor that visit and what it means for Tennessee, Tennesseans, and the country, quite frankly. Do you have any thoughts to share about placing this marker here at Andrew Jackson's house?
I think it's a very important reminder of a very important relationship. If we don't understand from where we have come, we cannot appropriately forge a plan for where we should go. We can learn so much from those who came before us, and that's why we should study history and understand it and celebrate it.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. The Hermitage now is joining a national network of Lafayette Trail markers that stretches from Maine to Louisiana, 25 states now. And this is our first marker in Tennessee. So welcome, Tennessee, to the Lafayette Trail.
All right. All right.
Woohoo! Again, I'm happy that a lot of drivers here, when they're going to park in that parking lot, they're going to see the marker. They don't even have to pay to see the marker. How smart is that? I think. So the moment that carried the day when Lafayette was here at the Hermitage on May 5th, 1825, was when Andrew Jackson showed him the pair of pistols that Lafayette had given George Washington in 1778. The fact that he had inherited these pistols actually drew even a closer connection between Jackson and George Washington.
Jackson was seen as the second George Washington. So Jackson had, and we have here, a number of collection items that have a provenance or a connection back to George Washington. The pistols were one of those items, and for Jackson, pistols would have been very important. They would have been very symbolic of the interesting, I would call it cool things, that Jackson had that had a connection to Washington, to Lafayette, and to the Revolutionary War.
The theme of this marker at the Lafayette Trail here at Andrew Jackson's Hermitage is really the stabilizing presence that Lafayette was in 1824 when this country is going through a very divided period in its history. Lafayette took it upon himself as he was traveling the country for his final visit to the US to really unify the nation and to heal those divisions that were running deep across the country. It was in the national interest that Lafayette did that, going to see Crawford, going to see Clay, going to see Jackson, all of those who have lost the election. I think it's a powerful legacy.
If you look at Lafayette's visit and the effort it took to make the detour back to Nashville and to the Hermitage, I think it reflects perhaps the respect that Lafayette had for Jackson and him seeing Jackson as a rising political leader who could help hold the United States together.
On June 21st, 1834, he signed an executive order requiring army officers to wear crape on their left arm for 6 months, ordering gun salutes. So you see that connection 10 years later when Lafayette dies as a national hero, and as Jackson has become president of the United States by then, he makes that a tribute to Lafayette.
Lafayette was held in such high esteem by Americans of the time, and us having the marker here and making that connection between Jackson and Lafayette, I think indicates to our visitors today in the 21st century the level of esteem in which Jackson was held. For us, it's a point of great honor to say that Lafayette came to the Hermitage.
Lafayette's ultimate goal was about the preservation of the national family, the Union. Hopefully, with this trip to the Hermitage, we've shed more light on that stabilizing presence that Lafayette was and that Americans turned to. I think this legacy is extremely relevant today, actually, seeing how a figure like Lafayette can bring unity to this national family, this American family. So hopefully you like this trip and this episode about Andrew Jackson's Hermitage. Can't wait to share more with you. Thanks so much for tuning in. À bientôt.